Veteran suicide is a significant issue for the veteran community. Since 1997 until 2020, there have been about 1,600 veterans who have taken their lives, and there will be many more that have attempted. Recently, the Australian government authorised the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide, which will hand down its findings in 2024. I'm Professor Ben Hewardine. I'm a veteran, and I'm the Director of Open Door, understanding and supporting service personnel and their families. This video is of a young Australian man who joined the Australian Defence Force in the 2000s, went on to join the Royal Australian Infantry and deployed overseas on multiple occasions. Ben Hewardine gives his account of some of the experiences he had overseas and their effects upon his physical and mental health. But he also gives an account of how upon return, the treatment psychologically, physically, and also socially of his mates had a compounding effect upon any trauma that he may have received. This is Ben's story.
My name's Benjamin James Hewerdine. I was born 16th of the 8th, 1976 in a small country town called Mullaney on the Sunshine Coast hinterland. I grew up in Maroochydore and around Markoola. I had some really good mates. Blokes who you go surfing with or four-wheel driving with or camping with, which was really good. My dad passed away last year in August. And my mum, she's still kicking around, so I'm an only child. My dad has 4 daughters from his first marriage, which are really cool. Like, I love my sisters. I didn't actually meet some of my sisters until I was 13, 14. I had one come and stay with us when I was younger. Mum and Dad, they worked hard. They provided everything I needed. I could not wish for a better childhood. My parents gave me everything they could. Because I had a lot of teachers used to say, oh, you're not going to excel, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. I left halfway through year 11. I actually worked some school holidays on good coin, really good coin. And it was like, well, I'm not excelling at school, so hey, I'm going to go and chase some dollars. I come from a military background. My grandfather, both my grandfathers, sorry. One was a ex-Australian and the other is actually ex-English, who was actually captured at the fall of Singapore. My dad was actually ex-Royal Navy as a young'un, and then changed over to the Australian Navy back then. And then got out, started working sawmills and that. Originally I enlisted to go into the Navy, so that was kind of as a CD, and the Navy was like, after 2 months of signing with the Army and signing up, they're like, oh, you're still interested in going to the Navy? I'm like, no, I've already signed for the Army. Mum was a little bit nervous, but she said, if that's what you really want to do, we'll support you 100%. Dad's like, it's about time. No. He's like, oh, it's in your blood. Kapuka was a little bit of an eye-opener for me. Like, I've got 2 left feet, so when it comes to drill, I'm Ricky Retardo, mate. Like, I've got no drill sense, still have no drill sense. They say left turn, I go right. When I got to the battalion, a couple of my sergeants and CSMs were Somali veterans. I had a Rwanda veteran there. They were hard boys, like, full of knowledge, unreal that aspect, pick their brains for everything they got. I was on the bayonet course, and the bayonet assault course, and one of the instructors go, oh, you've got great control over your aggression. I'm like, yeah, I guess. Like, I didn't, 1 minute they're yelling at you because your shoelace is undone or not done upright, and then next thing you know, you got someone coming up like that. So it was like we're going to take a bit of your attitude and a bit of your morale away, and we're going to booster it later on with, an award or saying along those lines. And it's like, yeah, okay, no, play the game. I actually had one instructor say, who was an infantry boy, Troy Ehrlich. I take my hat off to Erlo every time. He's like, just play the game. Just play the game. If it wasn't for Erlo, yeah, I'd probably still be on that fucking parade ground at Kapuka. Singo, when I was at Singo, yeah, I had, once again, I had good instructors there. They pretty much all came down just to run our course through. I was belt fed through Kapuka. What was it? It was like a 6-week course basically then. Singo had been compacted down to basically 8 weeks. So, what was it? I joined 4th of December 2001 and I was in my battalion by March 2002. I got to the battalion and I was 4 Platoon Bravo Company. Spent 90% of my career, I guess, or 80% of my career in Bravo Company. So whether 4 Platoon or 5 Platoon. Iraq was 05, we went over. What a lot of people don't understand is that when you lead up to a deployment, you actually do almost 6 months worth of lead up training. This is what civilians don't understand. It's like, oh, you deployed for 6 months or you deployed for 7 months, but they don't realize you're doing 6 months lead up training to that. We're part of the embassy. So I was on SecDet 8, the embassy protection party, but within that, if you weren't at the embassy, we'd be at a place what we call the stable, the cove. There was 3 tasks. Observation posts, so there was 2 APs on top of the Bath Party headquarters that we'd rotate through, or your liaison officer, driver and protection. So there'd be 2 diggers attached to a liaison officer. Another tasking was if the ambassador was on a move out into the red zone, so outside the green zone. The green zone was a big fortified area in the middle of Iraq, in Baghdad. We landed like 2 o'clock in the morning and all we heard was like boom, boom, boom. And the next day I hear this whistle over the top. The next day, boom, boom, boom. It was like, wow, this is our welcome to Iraq. Damn. The insurgents just decided to crack off some bombs the first morning we were there. It was just like mortar rounds and just like, yeah, okay, this is gonna be an interesting trip. Probably the most disturbing things was where the Australian embassy was. It's right next to what was called the CASH, which is the casualty hospital, the US casualty hospital for Iraq. So anyone that was injured in Iraq pretty much got sent to the CASH. They do meatball surgery and things like that. Meatball surgery is basically to get someone stabilised as quick as possible. There was a young girl who came in the back of a Bradley's. She'd been caught a few weeks earlier in crossfire between some US soldiers and some insurgents in Sada City. And she got hit with a ricochet of a 50 cal round in the leg. So they loaded her into the Bradleys and they brought her into the US, into the CASH, and they had to come through the gate. Now, this is a bit of a fucked reality, but because of the policies that they had, because she'd already been treated in an Iraqi hospital, she was responsible by the Iraqis. And the US soldiers thought, no, we're going to get her proper treatment. Now, this went on for several hours. I couldn't believe they were arguing over who was going to treat her. And eventually the head surgeon, the head bloke of the CASH came down and goes, we'll take her. This is a human's life, and this went on for like several hours. Yeah. And the whole time this girl, suffering. Turned out later on that there was still rounds stuck in behind the bone. and she had gangrene in the leg. I don't give a fuck about politics in that aspect. That's a life. That's a child. Regardless of how much training you can do, until it actually happens, and actually you see it with your own eyes, that's the reality. I was married. I had my first child. She was basically about 4 or 5 weeks old when I deployed to Iraq. And Angela Jade, my oldest one. And so, yeah, I was married, you know, good marriage, beautiful daughter. So, yeah, I came back, was probably about March I come back, and then next thing I know, I'm back in Townsville like 4 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't meant to be back in Townsville until like basically Friday evening, and this was like Thursday morning, and lockdown, so we weren't allowed to leave the base, weren't allowed to call our wives or loved ones. Got some briefs, still didn't get told where we were going or what was happening. All that we'd been told is that we'd been recalled. Someone in Canberra had made the decision to send extra troops somewhere. And before I knew it, Friday afternoon, they gave us 3 hours off to spend with our family. I got home, my ex is like, "What are you doing home? You're not meant to be back, you know, for several more hours." I'm like, "Yeah, I got back, you know, Thursday morning." She's like, "So what's happening?" I said, "We've been recalled, don't know where we're going." I just said to her, I said, "What's been on the news?" And she goes, "Oh, something about Timor." And I said, "Well, that's where I'm going." And Saturday morning, I'm standing on the tarmac, yeah, in Dilly, sweating my ass off, going, "Okay, I'm in this body armour, got my pack on my back, got my dive bag over my shoulder," and yeah. 1 minute we're told, "Yeah, we'll be here for a couple of weeks." A couple of weeks turned into a month. That month turned into 2 months. And eventually we ended up coming back on the 6th of December, 2006, the day before my wife's birthday. And I was like, "Okay, happy birthday." And as we were coming back, they said, "Yeah, you're coming back to Timor in 07. Congratulations." And yeah, I was back in Timor 07, March 07. My Afghanistan trip, when I come back from that, like, imagine a soldier just being fed adrenaline every day, because that's what it is over there. You know, I didn't get to sit in Tarankout 24/7 for 7 months. I didn't get to sit in Dubai for 7 months. My deployment was, yeah, you'll be lucky to be 2 weeks inside the wire. One of our bushmasters, our engineer bushmaster, the vehicle in front of us, I was up in the shooter hole with one of my mates, and it ended up hitting probably about 40 kilos of explosive, and this wheel station, which is 250 kilos, got thrown through the air like it was a frisbee, and everything just slowed down. Like, as time slowed down, and it's hard to explain the incident, but when the tyre came over the top of our bushmaster, and as it passed over, it was like an eclipse going off. Like, this whole sun just got blacked out, and then this tyre lands five metres outside our bushmaster door. And so we held our position in the bushy, expecting our engineer boys and that to be cleaned up by this IED, and then we saw the green smoke come past our bushmaster, meaning green smoke means, you know, no one's hurt, everyone's good to go. And so as infantry, we actually filed out of that and secured the area. You know, things like that, to see, you know, 250 kilos get thrown through the air, like, if that fell 5 metres beforehand, we're fucked, mate, because you're not going anywhere out of the fucking shooter's hatch in a hurry. Your taste, your smell, your hearing, everything is just heightened beyond belief. To come back from, especially deployment like Afghanistan and try to get back into a normal routine with family and things like that, it's hard. A lot of blokes, including myself, I turned to alcohol. Not proud of it, but it's a coping mechanism to dull your senses, to try to, okay, I need to relax this afternoon. And sometimes, you'll put a six-pack away, oh, that's nothing. But that six-pack's turned into half a carton. Or I'm going to crack a bottle of wine. Yeah, I'm going to wash that down with a couple of beers. And before you know it, you're just stuck in that cycle and you're just like, you don't think about it. And it's not until your mates come up to you and go, and you rock up to work, 5:30 in the morning to do PT and you're running 5Ks or whatever and you're coming back and it's just like, and blokes are like, geez, you smell like a gin shop. And you're like, yeah, it was all good. And then that, you got to also understand that starts to affect your family life too, And, my marriage ended up breaking down after Afghanistan. Sort of, it's, it just, little things would make you snap, like maybe dishes weren't put away or something like that, and you're just like, okay, I've been at work for 8 hours today, come home, it's just something simple, something small and simple. That was the trigger. Like, it was never anything big. And when you come back and you've been promoted to a full corporal and they're like, and you start saying, hey, something's not right, and some of your mates might point out to you, hey, something's not right with you. Like, you're a bit narky around the cages. We're patrolling back to the house after finding an IED on one of the roads. We had to split the basically platoon up into two lots or 3 lots. On the way to the house, our section got arced up like perfect. If there was a perfect ambush, this should have been the situation where we got hit from the side on, so enfilade fire by a machine gun, and I just remember watching dust fairies kick up all around me, jumping into the ditch beside me with my Mag 58 gunner, and we returned a bit of fire. But we sat in the bottom of it just laughing like 2 little schoolgirls, like, because the adrenaline was just like, holy fuck, this is what we've trained for. And it's just like, fucking, this is insane. Fuck, let's hook in. But couldn't believe, and we joke about it today, it's like we laugh like little schoolgirls in that situation. The whole fight or flight kicked in, insane. Like, that sits with me because I think to myself, we were kissed that day. Coming off that high tempo, like the adrenaline every day and just having a fed, and it sounds repetitive me saying that, but that's what it is. And it's addictive. And you come back and you're trying to settle back down, you can't settle because you want that fix. That sounds a sick word, but it's like a fix. From every deployment, it's almost the same. It's like you spend your last couple of days in country, and then Timor, they took us down to the airport to a hangar area where we cleaned all our kit, everything like that. Iraq, we pulled back to Kuwait where we cleaned all our kit. We had our debriefs. And Afghanistan, we were pulled out, taken to to Dubai, and we got our debriefs there. And then you'll do your psych debriefs. Psych debriefs are just tick and flick. How are you feeling about your deployment? And like, you might talk to a psych and then it's like, oh, how are you feeling about your deployment? Did you ever feel threatened? How are you feeling now? Are you feeling suicidal? And it's like, hang on, I'm still fucking running on a high. I haven't even been out of country for 48 hours and you want me to fill this shit out. And it's like, okay, no dramas, I'll do that. And you know what? Most of the boys that I know, including myself, it's like, I just want to get fucking home to my family. Coming back, a lot more edgy. Couldn't relax as much. Always wanted to be on the go. My alcoholism became a fucking issue at home. don't get me wrong, wasn't ever violent or anything like that. It was just, yep, I'm gonna sit down, have a couple of beers, and that couple of beers would turn into a 6-pack. Let's crack a bottle of wine, and that bottle of wine would turn into 2 bottles of wine. And then I started, like, guess not being as interested in family life. That sounds pretty sad, but that's what it was at the time. You know, and we just emotionally grew apart. When I said I needed help with being an alcoholic, you know, because that's what I was using to dull my situation, is that my platoon staff were really good, but higher up was a totally different fucking story. I went into an alcoholic rehabilitation system up in Townsville. I didn't go to Richmond. I actually went to a civvy one. I had to go into work, first parade, show myself, and then I'd go off to the rehabilitation. You start dwelling on everything, and then everything just starts to flood back in. You know, you start thinking about what happened overseas, and you get triggered by fucking being in built-up areas. You know, and you're like, why all of a sudden I'm so heightened? You know, why am I so on edge? I reckon I was a bit of a handballed off. You know, once they seem to realise, oh yeah, his usefulness is used up, we'll throw him in the fucking back burner, and that, you know, or we'll give him all the fucking smaller jobs. I got my posting order saying, yeah, this is your separation date from the army. I ended up getting med discharged 2013. Being diagnosed with PTSD. A psych had sort of said something about it when I was on the booze. You know, they said, oh, you might have some PTSD. I was like, nah, I'll be right. You know, it's, yeah, I'm just trying to fucking defrag myself from, you know, trying to take the edge off everything from being overseas. You don't want to hear that, oh, you've got PTSD. Yeah, nah, not me. It's all good. And it's not all good. That's it in a nutshell. It's not all good. Transitioning is probably the hardest part of it all. Being lost, not knowing where you fucking are, not being able to talk to people. You know, I had some pretty good psychs, but at the end of the day, you can battle within yourself, and you can talk to people about it, but they don't understand it at the end of the day. I live in a rural setting down on the coast, and I choose the isolation because if I'm living in the fucking city, I'm triggered. Come back to Australia and it's like all of a sudden, okay, I'm looking not at that building, I'm looking 2 buildings across. You know, a helicopter flies over and all of a sudden, okay, what's going on there? So I removed myself out of that triggering environment to come down here and I guess the isolation's probably the best way of describing it. We had a young soldier, and really good dude, like fit, fucking switched on. Like, you could almost say he was one of the ultimate soldiers. When he came back from Afghanistan, he failed his piss tests for illicit drugs, you know, standing orders, everything like that, if you're caught with illicit drugs in your system. But that was his way of coping. You've got to eventually pass the admin on and say, okay, we've got a soldier, he's been running late. There's only so much you can do for him. He failed to attend one of his doctor's appointments. So Once that happens, the unit, as in the hierarchy above the platoon and that, is informed that one of your soldiers has failed to attend a doctor's appointment. So that sends a red flag out. It's like, okay, go and see what's wrong with him. And the second time it failed. All right, we're gonna have to charge him. I had a pretty good rapport with the soldiers and that. I'd written a fucking character reference. All of a sudden, the Sarge goes, yep, Huey, you're fucking now prosecuting. I'm like, what? Who am I prosecuting? And they told me who I was. I'm like, yeah, no, that's a conflict of fucking interest. And he's like, why? And I said, well, I've done the fucking, his character references. I've sort of helped out with the defending. And they're like, no, you fucking prosecute. And I'm like, I argued the point, brought up key facts, the reason why. It was taken over to the CSM. The CSM, no, you're fucking prosecuting. I was like, are you fucking serious? There was 5 charges laid out. Yeah, all I know is the fellow's not with us anymore, and the way they fucking went about charging him is bullshit, especially considering I'd been down that similar road with the alcohol-related incidents, and you know, they had made their mind up. They're going to get him out of the army regardless. You know what? Forgive me, man. That's everything I fucking went against in the army. They're your boys, you're fucking responsible, you fucking look after them. They look after you, you look after them. So everything I'd fucking believed in and about the army had just been fucking pulled straight out under my fucking feet. I've never been so fucking angry, and even to this day, at one stage, my medication just grew and grew and grew to the point where I was almost on 40 tablets a day. Seroquel, diazepam, Lipitor for me fucking cholesterol, Panadine Fort was like candy, Norspan patches, Stilnox. Yeah, take 2 of these over night time. And the thing is, for me, it's like, at the end of the day, I'd basically walk around rattling like a fucking pill packet. Your body builds up to all this shit. The medication side of things, mate, if anything, probably a lot of it drove me more crazier, because I'd sit there of a morning and this is my routine. I'm taking 8 tablets of the morning. Morning tea, there's another 6 tablets. Lunchtime, there's another fucking 8 tablets. Nighttime, there's 10 tablets. Congratulations, that's your fucking day. My last attempt was about September last year after I lost my dad, because, and this is before I got off the meds and went cold turkey, it was that I lost my dad. People were saying the borders weren't going to open up, so I hadn't seen my daughters for 12 months. Why is it that every time I go from one person to another, I've got to tell my whole fucking career and my whole life story? This is bullshit, because I'm reliving everything every time fucking this happens. You know, I'm trying to get my life on track. I don't need to be telling my life story to every single person I see. And at the end of it, near the end of the conversation, she goes, well, that's a fantastic story. And I lost it. I flipped. I said, my whole career is a story to you. I said, how the fuck does that work? My career and what my experience is a life story to you. And I lost it. And I rang, after I hung up on her, I've never been so fucking furious in my entire life. 2 days later, I get a letter from the case group in Townsville stating, oh, we're sorry, Mr. Hewerdine, we've actually sent your folder and your file off to the wrong person. Before I know it, I'm sitting down with a bottle of fucking 21-year-old scotch. All my pills have popped out into a fucking packet, into a box, and every time I take a sip of scotch, I'm like, here's my fucking pills. Here's my scotch, here's my pills. Here's my scotch, here's my pills. Don't remember anything, don't remember the fucking ambulance ride. All I remember is coming to in Hamilton Hospital. Spent a week in Hamilton, and then they sent me down to Warrnambool to Ward 9 there, which is the psych ward. The psychs down there, and this is nothing against them, have never dealt with a young veteran. And they even said, we don't know what to do with you, because our ward is for schizophrenics, ice addicts, everything like that. Like, you know, a young veteran, we just don't know. Mum had hang on. Mum had called one of the radios, talkback shows, and they were able to get me into Ward 17 at Heidelberg, where, you know, I was able to get the help. Veteran suicide in the ADF. Well, I know 4 soldiers who have committed suicide, and 3 of them are actually ex-diggers of mine. Some of them are just young, you know, 18, 19, so that's their career, that's what they're choosing in life. The boys that I've lost, and their families who have lost their sons and daughters, you know, they all say the same thing. The army's taken the career away from the kids, and now, you know, the kids are gone because they don't have that. The last couple of years, you know, boys haven't been able to see each other, especially you live distance apart. And you know, only a couple of weeks ago, I finally caught up with the boys I haven't seen in 2 years, and we all discussed it. And basically, the 3 years leading up to the last 2, the only time we got together was at a funeral. Enough time has been wasted, and it needs to be done now. You know, obviously the army can't deal with it. DVA definitely can't fucking deal with it, because if they had, it'd be fucking fixed by now. And stop putting band-aids on axe wounds, because at the end of the day, obviously fucking whoever you listen to, or the so-called experts, are getting it wrong, because we're still losing blokes left, right and centre. Good blokes who are young, who've still got the life ahead of them, you know. So it's just got to stop.